In the Lab, a Texans podcast that takes a different look at things. Drew Dougherty and John Harris have their lab coats and goggles on, and the Bunsen burners burning. Here's Drew.
In the Lab time is right now. Drew Dougherty and my good friend John Harris. John, it's great to see you. Great to be with you. Since the Super Bowl just went down and finished, we're going to now get into draft mode over the next couple months. So every time we do one of these In the Lab podcasts, we're going to get a quick player breakdown. And you're going to do Notre Dame safety, Kyle Hamilton, but he's so much more than just a safety, John. So we're going to do that first, and then we're going to complain. We're going to do some complaining, and that's all I'm going to say, because someone was robbed. But let's start first with Kyle Hamilton. I was at lunch today with a good friend who actually went to Notre Dame, diehard Notre Dame fan, watches every single game with his family all year long, and he couldn't say enough great things about Kyle Hamilton. He just said, I don't know who to compare him to. And I know you've said Sean Taylor in the past, but even then, that's not like an apples to apples, right?
Well, it's funny you say that, because I was on Sports Radio 610 with one of my buddies who is a Notre Dame alum. Yep. And it's funny because Sean Pendergast and I have done radio in all sorts of forms. I mean, we were each other's first co-host, but I always do pregame with him. I'll jump on with him at times to do shows like I did today with Seth was out. So the thing is I don't really, and I haven't given a ton of credit to a lot of Notre Dame guys in the past. He's given me some grief, but I did remind him that in 2018, I did have Quentin Nelson number one in the Harris 100. Well, Kyle Hamilton will be number one in the Harris 100.
Wow. Yeah.
And the full unveil will be more than likely next week, getting into the combine. So you kind of have an idea of maybe who to watch, who to keep an eye on. But Hamilton at 6'4", 221. I compared him to Sean Taylor. He's the closest thing I've seen to Sean Taylor. Sean Taylor was like 6'3", 6'4", about 220, 225, and was just a heat-seeking missile. And he could run, and he covered ground like nobody I'd ever seen before. And I first saw Sean Taylor as a running back, and then I saw him play safety. I thought, wow. And I thought Anquan Bolden was the best football player I had seen to that point. And then Sean Taylor came on the scene. I thought, no, it's that guy. And I have yet, to this point, see anybody that even compared to Sean Taylor or even reminded me of Sean Taylor with his length, his hitting ability, his ability to play with range in the middle of the field, his ability to play man coverage, and the ball hawk skills until Kyle Hamilton. And I started thinking about this last year watching him. I thought, man, when that guy gets to the NFL, he's going to be something special. And then before he got hurt this year, I think he played 7-8 games and missed the last 3 or 4. He was phenomenal. In the game against Florida State, Notre Dame ends up with 3 interceptions. And the first one is Hamilton. He actually jumps around on the sideline from a safety position. I think using man coverage, jumped the route, got in front of a Florida State receiver that looked like he was open, picked it off. The second one is the one everybody talks about. And that was one where he was in the middle he was actually supposed to be in the middle of the field, but he was on the far hash. He went from the right hash all the way to the left sideline and picked the ball off, and the quarterback makes the throw off Travis, and he looks up like, my guy was open. You could see the Florida State coaches and players on the sideline saw the running back go up the sideline, thought, they started clapping, they're getting excited, and all of a sudden they saw Hamilton. They're like, what? So that was the second pick. Hamilton had both. The third pick was not Hamilton. However, it was a 3rd and 1 or a 4th and 1 play, and Hamilton was responsible for the back on the far side. So they ran the other back the other way, and they ran his back across the formation. So basically it was a big old pick play. And he had to work through the chaos to get over to his back. I mean, it's a sure 1 yard. Hamilton gets all the way over so that when the ball is thrown, he tips it up, and his fellow defensive back picks it off. There were 3 interceptions in that game. Hamilton was responsible basically for all 3. And the 2 other ones, the 2 interceptions he actually made, are the ones that people talk about. But the one that showed everything that he is was the third one. And that is speed, recognition, and then making a play when it matters most. And he was able to do that, and getting through all the chaos, understanding that he had working through that is hard. But then he got himself to a point where he didn't interfere. He put himself in great position that he could make a play on the ball, tip it, and then get it. Not that he was tipping it to a teammate, but he was just tipping it away. and they were going to have to punt or it's fourth down. Either way, the ball's going over to Notre Dame, but he tips it such that a teammate's able to get it. A big turnover. Notre Dame scored on that drive. He's everything you want in a safety. I brought up the question of, with the defensive backs and in Lovey's system, do you want to draft? I know people say, well, you're going to draft just a safety. He's not just a safety. He can do a lot of different things for you. He's great near the box. He can play wheel linebacker. He can play nickel. He can play star. He can play dime. He can play safety. In a pinch, you probably could play him out of corner if you needed to. He's just that versatile. So I know everybody will see the letter S next to his name when my Harris 100 comes out. Oh, he's safety. That's what happens with tight ends too. You see TE and you go, oh, he's a tight end. So in your mind, you visualize, okay, well, he only can do this.
You could really put P or W for like playmaker or weapon. With
right.
This
Anything. Yeah. Absolutely. Weapon X defensive style. He can do a lot of different things. Yeah. He can cover up a lot of things that ail you. And some of this will come down to who they're able to bring back. I.e. Justin Reed. Justin's a free agent. If they bring Justin back, and they bring Jonathan Owens back and Eric Murray is back, then maybe that's, it would be strengthening his strength, but maybe that's, adding resources where you've got some, maybe you need to spread it somewhere else. But to me, Kyle Hamilton is the best football player in his draft. And if you add him, you'll find unbelievable things and umpteen things that you can do with Kyle Hamilton. And that's why I love him so much.
All right. Well, the Harris 100 will be out very, very soon as well. We also have on HoustonTexans.com the mock draft tracker. Just updated it yesterday.
Yep.
Then a shift. Previously, the last 2 or 3 times we've done it, Evan Neal was the name most mocked to the Texans. Not anymore. It's Kayvon Thibodeau out of Oregon. And he was named on 10 of 34 mocks. And then I've added a few more today. But Kayvon Thibodeau is the guy that a lot of people see the Texans taking. Hamilton got 6. Evan Neal got 6. Aiden Hutchinson's name has now entered the conversation as well. 5 votes for him. Neal still has all those 6, like I said. And then you got a few Ike Ekwonu and so on and so forth. So always love doing the mock draft tracker. But now it's time to complain. Moan. Andre Johnson didn't make the Hall of Fame.
Oh,
I'm disappointed. I'm not stunned by it because I wrote an opinion piece on HoustonTexans.com, and without saying it, I think the voters were ignorant. They just didn't see enough of Andre Johnson over their career, meaning he wasn't on TV. They didn't watch and study him, because I don't think they really did. I think anybody that ever watched him with any degree of regularity or just saw him in general looked at him and said, that guy's the best guy on the field, best player on the field. Or if he's not, there's only 1 or 2 that are better than him. What he did time and time and time again in his time with the Texans was remarkable. And everyone knew he was the focal point of the offense. And he still, at least 2 or 3 times per game, managed to get wide open. And so wide open that you could go 10 yards in any direction. There's nobody near him. And yet they still knew that's the guy to go to. That's the guy you got to account for more than anyone else. And he still was able to get open and do what he did. I think playing at noon on Sunday from 03 through 09, all the time, basically, with a prime timer here and there, I think that just didn't do much help for him. Because I remember in 2011, week 3, I believe it was. So their Texans were in New Orleans. One of the greatest games the Texans have ever played. It was against the Saints. Yep. Back and forth, high 30s. They wind up winning it in the end. Fantastic game. But there was a play early in the first quarter where he has one of those catches where he's all by himself in the middle of the field. And a very, very prominent national writer who votes for the Hall of Fame basically tweeted something to the effect of, golly gee, it's really amazing how wide open Andre Johnson gets. And I'm paraphrasing what he said, because the way he tweeted it, it was clear he's never really watched the Texans with any degree of regularity. And when I saw that, I was worried for Andre Johnson's Hall of Fame chances, because he'd been in the league at nine years at that point, and you knew, hey, sometime in the next 5, 6, 7 years, he's going to call it quits, and then the voting's going to happen. And I was worried then when I saw that. And I know John McClain did a phenomenal job of presenting and arguing for him. But if you've not seen the guy play, you're not as likely to vote for him. And I'm just disappointed and bummed. He's a Hall of Famer in my book. He's a Hall of Famer in your book. Pretty much anyone watching, listening to this thinks he's a Hall of Famer. I'm disappointed that he didn't get in, and I know why. It's because ignorance. They just didn't know. They haven't seen him. They didn't see him, and they didn't get to appreciate him.
Well, I think there's good news and bad news, and I mean, the bad news obviously is he didn't get in, but to me, if there was some good news, it was the fact that I don't believe there was a first time on the ballot finalist that got inducted. Mm-hmm. DeMarcus Ware. I
was stunned he didn't get in. I mean,
I thought DeMarcus Ware was going to be a lock.
Yeah,
I mean, I would have
dunked to me.
I would have gone. I mean, we'd have done this before the vote, and you would have said, "Okay, who are locks?" And I've been like, "Well, DeMarcus Ware is the one lock for sure,
totally,
for sure." But if you look at the guys that got in, they had been finalists for 2, 3, 4. Baselli was 6. I feel like Baselli should have gotten in before, but still, it feels like there was some clearing of the clog, if you will. Now,
and in timeout, they're all deserving. These guys that got in, I'm not banging on them. I'm just saying Andre should have been in there. He should have been in. And I'm not going to say at whose expense, but they're all deserving candidates.
The other part of this is there were no receivers in this group. Now, Cliff Branch went in, but Cliff Branch was from the seniors.
And he should have gone in a long time ago.
He should have
gone in a long time.
He should have. He was arguably the best deep threat there's ever been in the NFL. I mean, at least through his era, he was tremendous. I mean, he was speed kills. So, the guys that got in, you look at Leroy Butler, he should have been in a long time ago. Tony Baselli should have gotten in a long time ago. Sam Mills gets in. I was glad to see him. I thought he was criminally underrated throughout his career. Mm-hmm. But another guy that was criminally underrated throughout his career is Bryant Young. When Bryant Young was healthy, he was a man-child. He wasn't Ndamukong Suh before Ndamukong Suh when he was healthy.
Yeah.
So you're right. I don't want to take away from any of those guys, but those guys have been on the ballot for a few years. Now, here's the flip side of the argument of, okay, well, Dre didn't go on the first one. Well, coming up is a pretty good first-time class. Joe Thomas, the tackle for the Cleveland Browns, who I think is a bona fide Hall of Famer. Revis Island, Darrelle Revis. Now, if all you remember about Revis was 2015 when DeAndre Hopkins smoked him, and you weren't watching Revis.
He'll get in. He'll get in. He's a first ballot.
Those two for sure. And I'm trying to think there are a couple others. There are even a couple others that didn't make it finals this year that were up for it, that I think have got a shot and should go in. And that's Steve Smith of the Panthers.
Devin Hester.
Yeah. Now, he was a finalist, but Steve Smith wasn't. He was a finalist in 2021, but he wasn't in 2022. That
was odd. I was very surprised by that. I would have thought basically because of, he played in a Super Bowl and he's been on national TV I would have thought like that would have raised his notoriety and raised his kind of, I thought I was very surprised by the Steve Smith one.
I don't want to take away, like I said, from other people.
Yeah.
But there are 3 receivers on this group. One of them I felt like belonged. And I felt like Steve Smith belonged over the other 2 that were finalists. I feel like it should have been Dre and Steve Smith up for receiver. So you're going to have Darrelle Revis. You're going to have Joe Thomas. They're going to be added to the mix as first timers. And I've always thought about those 2 as Hall of Famers. I know Joe Thomas didn't play on great teams, the Browns, but I felt like Joe Thomas is a bona fide Hall of Famer. And Revis Island, he's arguably the best cover corner in the NFL, not named Deion Sanders. So I feel like those 2 are going in. So now we get back to the backlog. Guys like Jared Allen. Jared Allen sacked everything that moved. I feel like he goes in. DeMarcus Ware, I think he goes in. I feel like Dre is absolutely deserving of it. I felt like this was a year. I felt like the timing actually with who were finalists, the guys that were finalists, his position group that were finalists, I felt like this was a good year considering what's coming down the pike in a few years. Man, dang, I just don't want him to get caught in that whole backlog thing like Tony Baselli did.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if people weren't watching Dre, they weren't watching the Jaguars.
No. And what I would say is this, out of that wide receiver group that you mentioned, I think they're all Hall of Famers. But I think if you ask any quarterback, really any player that played during that time, that overlapped with Andre. Hey, you only get to choose one of those guys for your team, and you're starting it anew. And you got truth serum, so you take the guys.
Yes,
I bet they're choosing Dre. If they're their heart of hearts are going with Andre Johnson.
There's no question. You think about, and this is the question. We talk about this a lot. Who's the best this? Who's the best that?
Yeah.
And when people say who's the best quarterback, I think about, okay, well, which quarterback would I want to go win one game? And the best receiver, I think about which guy would I want that would put the fear of the passing game in the hearts of the other team.
Mm-hmm.
Once he as he runs his routes, as he gets open, once he catches the ball, and once he turns and runs, once the ball's in the air, which guy scares the other team, whether it's by size or not. I mean, look, Julian Edelman is a scary dude because he's going to catch everything thrown to him, and he was going to get open and create first down. So he was scary in a different way. Andre Johnson was a scary dude, and of all the guys that we've talked about, he was the scariest. He would have been the one that, hey, man, what if you would have put Andre with this quarterback for years? And look, Matt hit his peak with Andre in 9 and 10. But Reggie Wayne walked into a situation with the Indianapolis Colts where Peyton Manning was at his peak.
Yeah.
And then played his entire career at his peak. And then when Manning was done, Reggie just slid over into Andrew Luck's DM. So from that standpoint, these guys had quarterbacks. Steve Smith arguably did. And I think Steve probably had a similar situation with Jake Delhomme and Joe Flacco.
Right.
That similar to what Andre had. Pro Bowls, but nothing, not a Hall of Fame quarterback, that's for sure. So, and the irony is those two guys I would put in before I would put in anybody else, a receiver. So it's going to be an interesting one in 2023. But I feel like this was a year in which they were able to kind of unclog the pipeline a little bit. But as they do that, the guys that are coming as first year guys in the ballot are going to make it really, really tough for this next finalist group of 15.
Now I'm just pissed off all over again, dude. Anyways.
It's all right. It's all right. Think about when we see or we hear the call that he gets in. Think about how great a day that's going to be.
Awesome. Yeah.
It'll be awesome.
It's going to be really cool. Well, you and I are going to be going to the combine in a couple of weeks. So we're going to do one more of these. And then in a week, we'll be in Indianapolis, or in a week after. So we did one. Today is Tuesday. We'll do one next Tuesday. So 2 Tuesdays, we're going to be at the combine in Indianapolis. I can't wait. It's going to be fun. You cool?
Of course, man. Indianapolis, can't wait. I love going to the combine. It's going to be fun.
Me too. This has been In the Lab. John Harris, me, Drew Dougherty. We'll talk to you again very, very soon. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.